Cub falls into museum exhibit. A curator's infant discovered a secret door. Let us know where you're watching from. If you love my content, consider supporting it with a super thanks. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe. It'll help us to remain in touch with amazing people like you. The morning sun filtered through the tall pines surrounding Savannah Reed's remote cabin, casting dappled shadows across the worn wooden porch. Savannah, the newly appointed wildlife researcher at Pinecrest Nature Reserve, sipped her coffee as she reviewed her field notes from the previous day. Her 6-month-old daughter, Lily, babbled happily in her playpen nearby, tiny hands reaching for the colorful mobile spinning above her. The cabin, nestled on the edge of the reserve, offered the perfect balance of isolation and accessibility that Savannah needed for her work studying the declining wolf population. 3 weeks into her new position, she was still adjusting to the rhythm of the forest and the challenges of raising Lily alone in this remote location. A sharp crack of breaking branches pierced the morning quiet. Savannah's head snapped up, her researcher's instincts immediately alert. Through the clearing between the trees, she spotted movement, something large and dark. Her breath caught in her throat as a massive black bear emerged from the underbrush, its powerful form moving with surprising grace for such a large creature. Savannah remained perfectly still, her mug halfway to her lips. The bear hadn't noticed her yet, its attention focused on something near its feet. Only then did Savannah see the tiny cub stumbling alongside its mother, its fuzzy ears perked up in curiosity. The sight would have been endearing if not for the danger it presented. Black bears with cubs were notoriously protective. The mother bear paused, raising her snout to sniff the air. Savannah's muscles tensed. The cabin door stood open behind her, but she knew any sudden movement might provoke the bear. Lily, unaware of the potential danger, let out a delighted squeal at the sight of the animals. The sound echoed across the clearing. The mother bear's head turned sharply toward the cabin. Her dark eyes locked with Savannah's, and time seemed to freeze. In that moment, Savannah saw something in the bear's gaze. Not aggression, but something disturbingly like fear. The bear huffed, nudging her cub with her snout, urging it back toward the forest. Instead of retreating, the mother bear let out a low, mournful sound. She circled her cub, then took a hesitant step toward the cabin, her behavior contradicting everything Savannah knew about bear responses to human encounters. Something was wrong. As the bear moved closer, Savannah spotted what she had missed before, a second cub, lying motionless several yards behind the mother. The bear's unusual behavior suddenly made terrible sense. She was seeking help. Savannah's hand trembled as she slowly placed her mug on the small table beside her chair. Years of training told her to retreat inside, to protect Lily and herself from the unpredictable wild animal. But her researcher's instinct, and something deeper, more primal, told her something else entirely. The mother bear stopped at the edge of the clearing, her eyes still fixed on Savannah. She made that strange, plaintive sound again, then looked back at the motionless cub. When she turned back to Savannah, the message couldn't have been clearer had she spoken it aloud. "Help us." Behind Savannah, Lily let out another squeal, this one softer, almost questioning. The bear's ears twitched at the sound, and for a brief moment Savannah felt a bizarre connection between the mother bear and herself. Two mothers, both fiercely protective, both vulnerable in their own ways. The decision that formed in Savannah's mind went against every safety protocol, every rational thought. But as the mother bear made that haunting sound once more, Savannah knew she couldn't ignore the call. "What happened to your baby?" she whispered, more to herself than to the bear. She slowly stood from her chair, keeping her movements deliberate and calm. The mother bear watched her, making no move to retreat or attack. From inside the cabin, the radio crackled with static, reminding Savannah that Ranger Connor Adams would be checking in soon for their daily communication. Connor, with his deep knowledge of the reserve and its wildlife, would know what to do. But Savannah sensed that the injured cub might not have that long to wait. The mother bear huffed again, looking back at her motionless cub, then back at Savannah. The message was unmistakable, impossible though it seemed. The wild animal was asking for help in the only way it knew how. Savannah took a steadying breath. What she was considering was beyond reckless. Approaching a mother bear and her cubs went against every wildlife safety rule. But the alternative, doing nothing, felt equally impossible. "I must be out of my mind," she murmured, glancing back at Lily, who watched the unfolding scene with wide, curious eyes. Savannah's heart raced as she contemplated what to do next, knowing that her decision might change everything, for herself, for Lily, and for the desperate mother bear waiting at the edge of the forest. Section 2. The Impossible Choice. With trembling fingers, Savannah reached for her phone and snapped several quick photos of the mother bear and her cubs. If nothing else, she would need evidence of this extraordinary encounter. Evidence that might explain her actions if things went wrong. "I need to get Connor," she whispered to herself, glancing at the radio on the counter. She knew the experienced ranger would tell her to stay inside, to wait for him to arrive with tranquilizers and proper equipment. The logical part of her brain screamed the same warning. Yet the mother bear remained at the forest's edge, her eyes never leaving Savannah's face, that strange, mournful sound continuing to rumble from her throat. The motionless cub had not stirred. Savannah made her decision. Moving with deliberate slowness, she stepped back into the cabin and placed Lily in her crib, surrounding her with her favorite toys. "Stay here, sweet girl," she murmured, though she knew the infant couldn't understand. "Mommy has to do something crazy." She grabbed her field kit, a sturdy backpack containing basic medical supplies for the wildlife she studied. Though meant for wolves, the kit held bandages, antiseptic, and other essentials that might help a young bear. She also took her tranquilizer gun, loaded with a dart appropriate for a wolf, but that might at least slow a charging bear if the mother turned aggressive. Before stepping back outside, Savannah radioed Connor. "Connor, it's Savannah at North Cabin. I have a situation." Her voice sounded strangely calm despite her racing heart. The radio crackled before Connor's voice came through. "Reading you, Savannah. What's up?" "There's a mother bear with 2 cubs near my cabin. One cub appears injured or sick. The mother is—" She hesitated, knowing how outlandish her next words would sound. "The mother seems to be asking for help." The silence that followed stretched for several seconds before Connor responded. "Savannah, that's not possible. Bears don't ask humans for help. You need to stay inside until I get there. I'm about 40 minutes out." "I don't think the cub has 40 minutes, Connor." Savannah watched through the window as the mother bear paced anxiously, looking back at her motionless baby. "I'm going to try to help." "Savannah, no!" Connor's voice rose sharply. "That is absolutely against protocol. You have Lily to think about. A mother bear with cubs is the most dangerous wildlife encounter possible." "I know the risks," Savannah replied, her voice firmer than she felt. "But this isn't normal bear behavior. She's not acting aggressive. She's acting desperate." "Bears are unpredictable, no matter how they seem," Connor warned. "Your research background doesn't prepare you for this. Wait for me." Savannah closed her eyes briefly. "I'll be careful. If she shows any sign of aggression, I'll retreat immediately. But I need to try, Connor. I can see the cub from here. It's not moving at all." She heard Connor's frustrated sigh. I'm on my way. I'll radio ahead to Dr. Hayes at the Wildlife Center to prepare for a possible bear cub admission. But Savannah, please, be smart about this. Your safety and Lily's come first." "Understood," she replied, setting the radio down. Savannah checked on Lily once more, ensuring the crib was secure, and the cabin door would remain slightly ajar so she could hear if her daughter cried. Then, with the tranquilizer gun in one hand and her medical kit in the other, she stepped back onto the porch. The mother bear was still there, watching. When she saw Savannah emerge, she made that strange sound again. Softer this time, almost hopeful. "I must be completely insane," Savannah murmured to herself as she slowly descended the porch steps. She maintained eye contact with the mother bear, moving with a deliberate slowness that she hoped conveyed both caution and peaceful intentions. The bear watched her approach, her massive head turning to track Savannah's movements. "I'm going to help your baby," Savannah said softly, knowing the bear couldn't understand her words, but hoping her tone might somehow communicate her intent. "But you have to let me." 20 feet from the mother bear, Savannah stopped. Any closer would be pushing the boundaries of safety, even in this bizarre situation. The mother bear huffed, her breath visible in the cool morning air, then did something Savannah would never have believed had she not witnessed it herself. The massive animal turned and walked several steps toward her injured cub, then looked back at Savannah as if saying, "Follow me." Savannah felt a chill run down her spine that had nothing to do with the morning air. This behavior defied everything she knew about wild animals, especially predators. Yet she couldn't deny what she was seeing. The mother bear's second cub, the healthy one, stayed close to its mother, occasionally casting curious glances at Savannah, but showing none of the fear a wild animal should display toward humans. As Savannah cautiously approached the fallen cub, she could finally see the nature of its distress. A cruel metal snare was wrapped tightly around its back leg, cutting deep into the flesh. The small black bear lay breathing shallowly, its eyes closed, a small pool of blood darkening the forest floor beneath it. Anger flashed through Savannah. Snares were illegal in the reserve. Someone had been poaching, and this innocent cub was paying the price. "Oh, little one," she whispered, kneeling beside the injured animal while keeping a wary eye on the mother bear, who stood just a few feet away, watching intently. "Who did this to you?" The cub was small, probably born earlier that spring. Its injured leg was swollen where the wire cut into it, and Savannah could see signs of infection setting in. The situation was worse than she had feared. Carefully setting down her tranquilizer gun within easy reach, Savannah opened her medical kit. She would need to clean the wound, remove the snare, apply antibiotics, and bandage the leg, all while kneeling inches away from a bear cub with its mother watching her every move. As she prepared a sterile wipe, the mother bear moved closer, her massive form blocking the morning sun. Savannah froze, heart hammering in her chest. Was this the moment when natural instinct would override whatever strange understanding had brought them together? The bear lowered her head until her snout was inches from Savannah's face. Her breath was warm, carrying the wild scent of the forest. Savannah didn't dare move as the bear sniffed her, the predator assessing the prey. Then, with a gentle huff, the mother bear stepped back again, as if giving permission to continue. Savannah released the breath she'd been holding. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice trembling. As she began to work on freeing the cub from the cruel wire, Savannah was keenly aware of the impossibility of what was happening. A human and a wild bear working together to save a life. In all her years of wildlife research, she had never imagined such a scenario. From the cabin, Lily's cry suddenly pierced the air. The mother bear's head jerked up, her ears swiveling toward the sound. Savannah's hands froze on the wire snare, terror flooding her veins as she realized just how vulnerable they all were. Section 3. Unexpected Allies. The mother bear's dark eyes shifted between Savannah and the cabin. Savannah's muscles tensed, ready to dive for the tranquilizer gun if needed. But instead of charging toward the sound of the crying infant, the bear made a soft chuffing noise to her healthy cub, which immediately trotted to her side. Lily's cries grew louder. The sound of her daughter in distress tore at Savannah's heart, but she couldn't abandon the injured cub now, not when she was so close to freeing it. "I need to check on my baby," Savannah said softly to the mother bear, her words streaming out automatically despite knowing the animal couldn't understand. "Just like you need to protect yours." To Savannah's astonishment, the mother bear turned and lumbered toward the cabin, her healthy cub following close behind. Panic surged through Savannah's body. "No, stop!" she called out, abandoning her work on the injured cub and grabbing her tranquilizer gun. The mother bear paused, looking back at her almost questioningly, then continued toward the cabin at a slow, deliberate pace. Savannah's mind raced with terrible possibilities. Was this strange truce over? Had the bear's maternal instincts been triggered by Lily's cries, marking the infant as a threat, or worse, as prey? She had made a terrible mistake. She should never have left Lily alone, should never have approached the bears. Connor had been right. With the tranquilizer gun gripped tightly in her hands, Savannah prepared to fire a warning shot, knowing it would likely be futile against the massive animal if she truly intended harm. But the mother bear stopped at the bottom of the porch steps. She made no move to climb them or to enter the cabin. Instead, she sat down heavily, her cub nestling against her side, and fixed her gaze on the cabin door. Savannah hesitated, confused by this behavior. The bear wasn't acting aggressive or predatory. It was almost as if she was waiting. "What are you doing?" Savannah whispered, her knuckles white around the tranquilizer gun. Lily's cries continued from inside. Every instinct screamed at Savannah to run to her daughter, but that would mean passing within feet of the massive bear. The injured cub whimpered softly behind her, reminding her of its urgent need for care. The radio at her belt crackled to life. "Savannah, it's Connor. I'm about 20 minutes out. What's your status?" Savannah unclipped the radio with trembling fingers, never taking her eyes off the bear. "Connor, the situation is complicated. One cub is caught in a snare. I've been trying to free it. The mother has been allowing me to help, but Lily started crying, and now the mother bear is sitting in front of my cabin." "She's what?" Connor's voice rose in alarm. "Savannah, get yourself inside immediately. Forget the cub, we can trank them all when I arrive." "I don't think," Savannah began, observing the mother bear's calm demeanor. "I don't think she's being aggressive, she's just sitting there, listening to Lily." "Bears don't listen to human babies, Savannah," Connor said firmly. "This isn't a Disney movie, get inside now." Savannah bit her lip, torn between following protocol and trusting her instincts about this extraordinary situation. "The cub will die if I leave it now," she said. "The snare is cutting off circulation to its leg." Connor's frustrated sigh came through the radio. "Can you see Lily from where you are?" "No, but I can hear her," Savannah replied. A moment of silence followed before Connor spoke again. "I'm calling in doctor. Hayes for backup. He can bring more tranquilizers and medical equipment. Just try not to get killed in the next 15 minutes, okay?" Despite everything, Savannah felt a hysterical laugh bubble up in her throat. "I'll do my best." She clipped the radio back to her belt and considered her options. She couldn't leave the injured cub, but she needed to check on Lily. And to do either, she would need to deal with the mother bear now positioned between her and the cabin. Taking a deep breath, Savannah made a decision. She set down the tranquilizer gun, within reach but not in her hands, and spoke directly to the mother bear. "I need to check on my baby," she said clearly, pointing toward the cabin. "My cub needs me, just like yours needs you." The mother bear blinked slowly, her massive head tilting slightly. Savannah took a careful step forward, then another. The mother bear watched, but didn't move. Encouraged, Savannah continued her slow approach until she was just a few yards from the massive animal. "Please," she whispered, "let me pass." To her amazement, the mother bear shifted her bulk slightly to one side, creating a wider path to the steps. Savannah's scientific mind rejected what she was seeing. Wild animals didn't behave this way, especially not large predators with young. Yet the evidence was right before her eyes. Moving carefully, never turning her back on the bear, Savannah edged past the animal and up the porch steps. The mother bear and her cub watched her but made no move to follow. Inside the cabin, Lily's cries had subsided to whimpers. Savannah hurried to the crib and found her daughter red-faced but unharmed, clearly upset at being left alone. She scooped the baby into her arms, murmuring reassurances. "I'm sorry, sweet girl. Mommy's here now." Through the open doorway, Savannah could see the mother bear still sitting at the bottom of the steps, her eyes fixed on the doorway where Savannah stood with Lily. The strange connection she had felt earlier returned, stronger now, almost tangible in the air between them. Two mothers, two babies, one injured. The parallels weren't lost on Savannah. Making another split-second decision that defied all conventional wisdom, Savannah settled Lily onto her hip and stepped back onto the porch. The mother bear's eyes widened slightly at the sight of the human infant, and the healthy cub's nose twitched with curiosity. "She's my baby," Savannah said softly, gently bouncing Lily, who had calmed in her mother's arms. "And I need to help yours. Do you understand?" The mother bear made that strange, soft huffing sound again. Then, in a movement that sent shivers down Savannah's spine, she appeared to nod her massive head. Savannah's scientific mind immediately supplied rational explanations. A coincidental movement, a response to a sound in the forest, her own imagination imposing human characteristics on an animal. But her instincts told her something else entirely. The radio crackled again. "Savannah, status update," came Connor's tense voice. Without taking her eyes off the bear, Savannah reached for the radio. "The mother bear is still here, still calm. I have Lily with me now." "You have..." Connor's voice rose in disbelief. "You brought your baby outside? With a wild bear there?" "It's not what you think," Savannah tried to explain, though she knew how it sounded. "Something extraordinary is happening here, Connor. I can't explain it, but this bear is different." "I'm 10 minutes out," Connor replied, his voice tight with stress. "Dr. Hayes is about 15 minutes behind me. Just please be careful." Savannah replaced the radio and looked back at the mother bear, who was still watching her and Lily with what appeared to be profound interest. "I need to help your cub," Savannah said again, gesturing toward the injured baby bear still lying in the clearing. "Will you let me take my baby with me?" "I can't leave her alone again." The mother bear rose to her full height, an imposing sight that made Savannah instinctively step back. But instead of approaching the cabin, the bear turned and lumbered back toward her injured cub, her healthy baby trotting alongside her. Once again, the bear looked back at Savannah, as if expecting her to follow. Cradling Lily securely against her chest, Savannah took a deep breath and descended the porch steps. She retrieved her medical kit from where she had left it and approached the injured cub once more, all while holding Lily close. "This isn't in any wildlife manual," she murmured to her daughter, who was now contentedly playing with a strand of Savannah's hair, completely unafraid of the massive predators nearby. "But I think we're making history here, baby girl." As Savannah knelt beside the injured cub again, she was acutely aware of the mother bear standing just feet away, watching every movement. The wire snare had cut deeply into the cub's leg, and removing it would be painful for the young animal. If it cried out in pain, would the mother's protective instincts override this strange cooperation? "This might hurt him," Savannah said to the mother bear, making eye contact with the massive animal. "But it's necessary." The mother bear blinked slowly, then settled onto her haunches, her healthy cub nestling against her side. It was as close to permission as Savannah was likely to get. With careful movements, Savannah resumed her work on the snare, using wire cutters from her kit to sever the cruel trap. As the metal bit through the wire, the injured cub flinched and let out a pitiful whine. Savannah froze, eyes darting to the mother bear. The massive animal shifted her weight but made no move to interfere. Instead, she made a low, rumbling sound that seemed to calm her injured baby. The sound of an approaching vehicle broke the strange tableau. Connor had arrived. "Savannah," his voice called from the direction of the access road. "Where are you?" The mother bear's head swiveled toward the new sound, her posture instantly alert. "I'm here, by the clearing," Savannah called back, her heart racing. Would the appearance of another human shatter whatever inexplicable trust had formed between her and the mother bear? "Connor, approach slowly. There's a situation here you need to see." The sound of footsteps approached cautiously through the underbrush, and then Connor Adams emerged at the edge of the clearing. He froze, his experienced ranger's eyes taking in the impossible scene before him. Savannah kneeling beside an injured bear cub, her baby on her hip, while a full-grown mother bear watched calmly from just feet away. "What in God's name?" he breathed, his hand automatically moving to the tranquilizer rifle slung across his back. "Don't," Savannah said sharply, raising her free hand. "Don't raise your weapon. She's letting me help her cub." Connor's expression was one of pure disbelief. "This isn't possible," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. Section 4. The Unbreakable Bond. The mother bear shifted her attention between Savannah and Connor, her powerful muscles tensing slightly at the ranger's presence. Savannah could sense the fragile trust beginning to fray. "Stay where you are," she told Connor, not taking her eyes off the bear. "Don't make any sudden movements. She's been allowing me to help her cub, but I don't know how she'll react to you." Connor remained frozen at the edge of the clearing, his experienced eyes assessing the situation with professional caution. "Savannah, what you're describing, it doesn't happen. Wild bears don't seek human help." "I know," Savannah replied, returning her focus to the injured cub. "But it's happening right now, in front of us." With careful precision, she completed cutting through the wire snare, finally freeing the cub's injured leg. The young animal whimpered as blood began flowing more freely into the damaged limb. "The snare is off," Savannah announced, more for Connor's benefit than the bear's, "but the wound is infected. He needs antibiotics and proper medical care." Connor took a tentative step forward, and the mother bear immediately swung her massive head toward him, lips pulling back slightly to reveal gleaming teeth. "Stop," Savannah warned. "She's tolerating me, but she doesn't know you." "This is insane," Connor muttered, but he remained where he was. Dr. Hayes should be here soon with proper equipment. We need to sedate her and get that cub to the wildlife center. Savannah shook her head as she applied antiseptic to the cub's wound, causing the little animal to squirm in pain. I don't think sedation is necessary, not if she continues to let me help. The mother bear made a low, rumbling sound as her cub cried out, but she made no move to intervene. Instead, she shifted closer to Savannah, her massive head lowering until her snout was nearly touching Savannah's shoulder. Connor tensed, his hand moving imperceptibly toward his tranquilizer rifle again. Savannah. "It's okay," Savannah said softly, though her heart hammered in her chest. The bear's breath was warm against her skin, carrying the wild scent of the forest. Lily, still perched on her hip, reached out a tiny hand toward the bear's fur. "No, sweetie," Savannah whispered, gently guiding Lily's hand back. The mother bear observed the interaction, her dark eyes reflecting a strange intelligence that sent shivers down Savannah's spine. "I need to bandage his leg," Savannah explained, speaking as much to the mother bear as to Connor. She worked quickly, wrapping the cub's wound with gauze and securing it with medical tape. The treatment was rudimentary, but it would protect the injury until they could get the cub proper veterinary care. "There," she said, sitting back on her heels. "That should help for now." The injured cub tried to stand, wobbling uncertainly on 3 legs while keeping the bandaged one raised. Its sibling approached cautiously, sniffing at the bandage with obvious curiosity. The mother bear made a soft, chuffing sound that seemed to reassure both cubs. Then, to Savannah's amazement, the massive animal leaned forward and gently nudged the injured cub toward her, as if offering the baby to Savannah for further care. "She wants us to take him," Savannah said, her voice filled with wonder. "She knows he needs more help than I can give here." Connor's expression remained skeptical, but even he couldn't deny the evidence before his eyes. "In 20 years as a ranger, I've never seen anything like this." The sound of another vehicle approaching broke the moment. The mother bear's head lifted, her posture becoming alert once more. "That'll be Dr. Hayes," Connor said. "He has a transport cage and proper medical supplies." Savannah nodded, but a new worry formed in her mind. Would the mother bear allow strangers to take her cub away? The trust that had formed between them was extraordinary, but it might not extend to others. "We need to be careful about this," she warned Connor. "If she feels threatened or thinks we're stealing her cub, this could go bad very quickly." The injured cub wobbled toward Savannah, its small dark eyes fixed on her with what seemed like trust. Its sibling followed cautiously, while the mother bear watched from just feet away, her massive presence both reassuring and terrifying in its power. Lily babbled happily, reaching toward the approaching cubs with obvious delight. The normalcy of a baby's curiosity amid this extraordinary situation struck Savannah as profoundly surreal. "Dr. Hayes is here," Connor called softly as another figure emerged from the forest path, carrying a large animal crate and a medical bag. Dr. Michael Hayes stopped in his tracks, much as Connor had, his expression transforming from professional readiness to stunned disbelief as he took in the scene before him. "Holy," he breathed, his grip tightening on the crate handle. "Approach slowly," Savannah instructed. "The mother is allowing us to help her cub, but we need to be careful not to break this trust." Dr. Hayes nodded, his trained veterinarian's instincts overriding his shock as he assessed the situation. "The cub is injured?" "Caught in a snare," Savannah explained. "I've removed it and bandaged the wound, but it's infected and needs proper treatment." The mother bear's attention shifted to Dr. Hayes, her nostrils flaring as she scented the newcomer. A low growl rumbled in her chest, the first truly threatening sound she had made since her arrival. "Stop!" Savannah said sharply, and Dr. Hayes froze immediately. The mother bear's growl subsided, but her eyes remained fixed on the veterinarian and the crate he carried. "She knows what that crate is for," Connor observed quietly. "She's smart enough to recognize it as a cage." Savannah nodded, then made a decision. Carefully setting Lily on a soft patch of grass where she could still keep an eye on her, Savannah approached the mother bear directly. Every instinct and training protocol screamed against what she was doing, but the connection she had formed with the animal demanded a level of trust in return. "We need to take your baby to get better," she said softly, looking directly into the bear's intelligent eyes. "He needs medicine that I don't have here. Do you understand?" The mother bear huffed, her gaze moving between Savannah and her injured cub, which was now leaning weakly against its sibling. "I promise we'll bring him back when he's better," Savannah continued, knowing that her words couldn't possibly be understood, yet feeling compelled to speak them. "We're trying to help him." To everyone's amazement, the mother bear approached her injured cub and nuzzled it gently. Then she nudged it toward Savannah, the message unmistakable despite the impossibility of the communication. "She's giving us permission," Savannah whispered, awe evident in her voice. Dr. Hayes shook his head in disbelief, but set the crate down and opened its door. "If we're going to do this, let's do it quickly. That cub needs IV antibiotics and fluids." With careful movements, Savannah approached the injured cub. The little animal trembled but didn't try to escape as she gently lifted it from the ground. Its weight, perhaps 20 pounds, was a surprising contrast to its fragile appearance. "It's okay, little one," she murmured, carrying the cub to the open crate. "We're going to make you better." The mother bear watched as Savannah carefully placed the injured cub into the crate. The young animal whimpered softly but didn't resist, its dark eyes seeming to understand that this strange human was trying to help. As Dr. Hayes secured the crate door, the mother bear let out a low, mournful sound that resonated through the clearing. Her healthy cub pressed against her side, its small form dwarfed by its mother's massive bulk. "I know," Savannah said softly to the mother bear. "It's hard to be separated from your baby, but we'll take care of him." Connor shook his head in amazement. "I wouldn't believe this if I weren't seeing it with my own eyes." He lowered his voice, speaking just to Savannah. "But what happens when we leave with her cub? Will she let us go or will she follow? Either option could be dangerous." It was a valid concern. If the mother bear became distressed when they took her cub away, her remarkable restraint might dissolve into the natural aggression of a threatened parent. Dr. Hayes checked the cub quickly through the crate's bars. "This little guy needs treatment immediately. The infection is severe, and he's showing signs of dehydration." Savannah made a quick decision. "I'm going with you to the wildlife center," she told Dr. Hayes. I think she trusts me. Maybe if she sees me going with her cub, she'll understand we're not harming him." Connor looked skeptical. "And what about Lily?" "You can't take a baby to assist with treating a wild bear." "I'll get my neighbor to watch her," Savannah replied, picking up her daughter from the grass. "Jessica lives just down the access road. We can drop Lily off on the way to the center." The mother bear was watching them intently, as if trying to understand their conversation. When Dr. Hayes lifted the crate, her muscles tensed visibly, and a low rumble emanated from her throat. "It's okay," Savannah said quickly, stepping between the veterinarian and the bear. "We're helping him. We'll bring him back." The massive animal shifted her weight, her gaze never leaving the crate containing her cub. Then, in a movement that left all three humans breathless, she nudged her healthy cub behind her and dropped into a sitting position, as if giving them permission to leave. "Let's go," Dr. Hayes said quietly, quickly, before she changes her mind. They backed away slowly, Savannah leading with Lily in her arms, Dr. Hayes carrying the crate with the injured cub, and Connor bringing up the rear, his tranquilizer rifle ready but not raised. As they reached the path leading to the access road, Savannah glanced back. The mother bear remained where they had left her, her dark eyes fixed on the humans taking her baby away, the picture of impossible restraint and trust. "I've never seen anything like this," Dr. Hayes murmured as they reached his vehicle. "Bears don't behave this way. They just don't." "I know," Savannah replied, securing Lily in her car seat before helping Dr. Hayes place the crate carefully in the back of his veterinary truck. "But she did." Connor approached, his expression troubled. "I'm going to stay here and keep an eye on the mother and her remaining cub. I'm worried about what she might do once you've left with her baby." Savannah nodded, understanding his concern. "Radio me if anything changes. I'll keep you updated on the cub's condition." As Dr. Hayes started the engine, Savannah looked back toward the clearing one last time. She could still see the mother bear's dark form at the edge of the trees, watching them depart. An unexpected lump formed in her throat at the sight of the animal's steadfast vigilance. The drive to Jessica's home took only minutes. After a hurried explanation and heartfelt thanks to her neighbor for watching Lily, Savannah rejoined Dr. Hayes in the truck, and they set off for the wildlife center, the injured cub making occasional whimpering sounds from its crate. "This shouldn't be possible," Dr. Hayes said as they drove, breaking the thoughtful silence that had fallen between them. "Bears are intelligent, but they're wild predators. They don't seek human help, especially not for their cubs. Their instinct is to protect their young from humans at all costs." Savannah gazed out the window at the passing forest. Maybe she was desperate enough to override her instincts. The cub would have died without intervention. "Even so," Dr. Hayes insisted, "what you're describing goes beyond desperation. It suggests a level of reasoning and trust that we don't typically attribute to wild animals." "Maybe we underestimate them," Savannah suggested. "My research with wolves has shown complex social behaviors and problem-solving abilities that challenge conventional understanding." Dr. Hayes shook his head. "Wolves are highly social animals with evolved pack dynamics. Bears are largely solitary. This is different." They lapsed into silence again as the truck wound through the forest roads toward the wildlife center on the outskirts of Pinecrest Reserve. The injured cub had grown quieter, its breathing shallow but steady. "Will he survive?" Savannah asked softly. Dr. Hayes's hands tightened on the steering wheel. "I don't know. The infection is severe, and he's lost a lot of blood. But bear cubs are tough, and we caught it before sepsis set in completely. We'll do everything we can." When they arrived at the wildlife center, a team was already waiting. Word had spread about the extraordinary situation, and curious staff members gathered as Dr. Hayes carried the crate inside, Savannah following close behind. "Everyone back to work," Dr. Hayes said firmly as they entered. "This is a medical emergency, not a sideshow." The staff dispersed, leaving only Dr. Hayes's assistant, a young man named Ethan Marshall, who had prepared the treatment room. "IV fluids ready, antibiotics on standby, and the surgical suite is prepped if needed," Ethan reported efficiently. "Good man," Dr. Hayes replied, setting the crate down carefully. "This is going to be delicate. The mother bear allowed us to take her cub, but we need to ensure he survives to return to her." Ethan's eyebrows shot up. "The mother allowed you to? I thought it was an orphaned cub." "Far from it," Dr. Hayes replied grimly. This might be the most extraordinary wildlife case I've ever encountered. While Ethan processed this information, Dr. Hayes prepared a mild sedative. We need to keep him calm while we treat the wound. Savannah, since he seems to trust you, can you help hold him still for the injection?" Savannah nodded and carefully opened the crate door. The injured cub blinked up at her, its dark eyes seeming to recognize her. With gentle movements, she stroked its head, murmuring soft reassurances as Dr. Hayes administered the sedative. "There we go," the veterinarian said as the cub's eyelids drooped. "Now we can work." For the next hour, Savannah assisted as doctor. Hayes and Ethan cleaned the wound thoroughly, administered antibiotics and fluids, and properly bandaged the cub's leg. The damage from the snare was severe. The wire had cut nearly to the bone, but Dr. Hayes was optimistic. No major arteries were severed, he explained as he worked. With proper treatment and time to heal, he should regain full use of the limb. As they finished the treatment, Connor's voice came through on the radio. "Savannah, do you copy?" Savannah grabbed her radio. "I'm here, Connor. The cub is stable. Dr. Hayes thinks he'll recover." "That's good news," Connor replied, his voice tight with tension. "But we have a situation here." Savannah's heart sank. "What's happening?" "The mother bear's gone." "Gone? Where?" "That's the problem," Connor said grimly. "She was sitting at the edge of the clearing, watching the cabin with her remaining cub. I went to check the perimeter for signs of poachers who might have set that snare. When I came back 20 minutes later, she was gone. Maybe she just returned to the forest," Savannah suggested, though a feeling of unease was growing in her stomach. "That's what I thought at first," Connor replied. "But then I found tracks. Savannah. She's heading toward the town." Savannah's blood ran cold. Pinecrest was a small town that bordered the nature reserve, just a few miles from her cabin. If a mother bear with a cub wandered into the populated area. "I'm following her trail," Connor continued. "But she's moving fast and she's staying just inside the tree line where the terrain is rough. I've alerted the town rangers, but you know how stretched thin they are." Dr. Hayes had been listening to the exchange, his expression growing increasingly concerned. "A bear heading toward populated areas is a code red situation," he said, "especially one with a cub. If she encounters humans who don't know the situation." He didn't need to finish the thought. Standard protocol for a bear incursion into populated areas was clear. Attempt to tranquilize and relocate if possible. But if the bear showed aggression, especially toward humans, lethal force was authorized. "We need to find her before someone gets hurt," Savannah said, already moving toward the door. "Either her, her cub, or a person." "Wait," Dr. Hayes called. "What about this little one?" "He'll be waking from the sedative soon, if the mother is searching for him." Savannah paused, her mind racing. "Could we safely transport him? If the mother is looking for her cub, having him with us might be the only way to prevent a disaster." Dr. Hayes considered this, his medical training warring with the unprecedented situation. "It's not ideal for his recovery, but it might be the only option. I can rig a mobile IV to keep the fluids and antibiotics going." "Do it," Savannah decided. "Connor, do you copy? We're bringing the injured cub. Try to keep track of the mother bear, but don't approach her. We'll meet you as soon as we can." "Copy that," Connor replied. "But hurry, she's moving with purpose, like she knows exactly where she's going." As Dr. Hayes and Ethan prepared the cub for transport, Savannah's phone rang. It was Jessica, her neighbor who was watching Lily. "Savannah?" Jessica's voice was tight with worry. "There's something you should know. The local rangers just issued an alert. There's a bear sighted on the outskirts of town near the elementary school." Savannah's heart lurched. "The elementary school? Are you sure?" Positive. They're evacuating the children now as a precaution. Savannah, what's going on? This isn't normal bear behavior. No, it's not, Savannah agreed, her mind working furiously to make sense of the situation. Jessica, keep Lily safe at your place. I'm working with Dr. Hayes and the Rangers to handle this. After hanging up, Savannah relayed the new information to Dr. Hayes, who had finished securing the sedated cub in a specialized transport carrier with an attached IV drip. The elementary school? He repeated, baffled. Why would she go there? Savannah shook her head, equally confused. I don't know, but we need to move now. They rushed to Dr. Hayes's truck, carefully loading the transport carrier in the back. As they prepared to leave, Ethan approached, his young face determined. I'm coming with you, he said firmly. You'll need help monitoring the cub's vitals during transport. Dr. Hayes nodded gratefully. Get in. As they sped toward Pinecrest, Savannah's thoughts raced. What could have driven the mother bear to head toward town, specifically toward the elementary school? Bears typically avoided human settlements, their natural wariness keeping them in the forest. This makes no sense, she murmured, almost to herself. Unless... A terrible suspicion began to form in her mind. Dr. Hayes, can you pull up the records of bear sightings and encounters in the area over the past year? Ethan, sitting in the back seat monitoring the cub, tapped rapidly on his tablet. I can access the database from here. What are you looking for? Any reports of bears near human settlements, particularly with cubs, or any bears that might have been relocated or transported through the wildlife center. As Ethan searched, Dr. Hayes cast Savannah a questioning glance. You have a theory? Maybe, Savannah replied, her voice tight. But it seems impossible. After what we witnessed this morning, I'm beginning to reconsider what's impossible, Dr. Hayes said dryly. Ethan looked up from his tablet, his expression stunned. I found something. 6 months ago, a female black bear with 3 cubs was found scavenging behind the elementary school cafeteria. She was tranquilized and relocated deeper into the reserve, but one of the cubs was injured during the process and brought to the wildlife center for treatment. Savannah felt a chill run down her spine. And what happened to that cub? Ethan's eyes widened as he read further. It was treated successfully and released back near the area where the mother had been relocated, but... He looked up, his face pale. There's a note here from the ranger who handled the release. He wasn't confident the cub would find its way back to the mother. The implications hung heavy in the air. She's looking for her other baby, Savannah breathed, the one that was taken from her 6 months ago, and she remembers exactly where it happened. That's not possible, Doctor. Hayes protested, but his voice lacked conviction. Bears don't have that kind of long-term memory or problem-solving ability. Don't they? Savannah challenged. We just witnessed a mother bear deliberately seeking human help for her injured cub. She allowed us to take him for treatment. What if she's learned from previous experience? What if she remembers that humans took her other cub from that location? The hypothesis was extraordinary, challenging fundamental assumptions about wildlife behavior. Yet, after what they had witnessed that morning, it couldn't be dismissed outright. Even if you're right, Dr. Hayes said, accelerating as they approached the town limits, it doesn't change the immediate danger. A bear near an elementary school is a crisis, regardless of her motivations. As they entered Pinecrest, they could see the commotion ahead. Police cars blocked the road leading to the elementary school, their lights flashing. Parents who had rushed to collect their children clogged the surrounding streets, while rangers and animal control officers gathered at the perimeter, some armed with tranquilizer guns, others with more lethal weapons. Dr. Hayes pulled to a stop at the police barricade, quickly showing his wildlife center credentials. "We have information about the bear situation," he explained to the officer, who waved them through after a quick glance at their vehicle and its official markings. They parked near the command post that had been hastily established in the school parking lot. Connor was already there, conferring with the head ranger, a stern-faced woman named Karen Lopez. "Savannah," Connor called when he spotted them. "The situation is escalating. The bear is in the wooded area behind the school playground. She won't leave, despite deterrent measures. If she approaches the building, they're going to have to take her down." "Wait," Savannah said urgently. "I think I know why she's here, and we might have a solution." She quickly explained her theory about the mother bear searching for her lost cub from 6 months ago. Ranger Lopez listened with obvious skepticism. "You're suggesting this bear remembered a specific location after 6 months and made a deliberate journey to find a lost cub? That's a level of cognition we don't attribute to bears." "I know how it sounds," Savannah acknowledged. "But I just watched this same bear entrust her injured cub to human care. Something extraordinary is happening here." Connor nodded, backing her up. "I witnessed it too. It defied everything I know about bear behavior." Dr. Hayes joined them, leaving Ethan to monitor the injured cub in the truck. "We have the cub she brought to Savannah this morning. If your theory is correct, Savannah, perhaps we can use him to lure the mother back to safety." Ranger Lopez considered this, weighing the risks. "If you're wrong, you could be putting yourselves in danger, as well as that injured cub. And if I'm right," Savannah countered, "we could prevent the unnecessary killing of an extraordinary animal and her remaining cub." After a moment of tense deliberation, Ranger Lopez nodded curtly. "We'll try it your way, but at the first sign of aggression, my team will act. The safety of the people in this town comes first." "Understood," Savannah agreed. They quickly devised a plan. Savannah, accompanied by Connor and Dr. Hayes, would approach the wooded area with the injured cub in its carrier. Rangers with tranquilizer guns would maintain a perimeter, ready to act if necessary. As they prepared to move, Dr. Hayes administered a mild stimulant to counteract the cub's sedation. "We need him awake but calm," he explained. "If the mother sees her cub alert and apparently unharmed, she might be more willing to retreat." The small bear blinked groggily as the stimulant took effect, its dark eyes focusing on Savannah with what seemed like recognition. It made a soft whimpering sound that tugged at her heart. "It's okay, little one," she murmured. "We're going to take you to your mama." With Connor taking one end of the carrier and Savannah the other, they moved slowly toward the wooded area behind the school. Dr. Hayes followed close behind, monitoring the cub's condition, while the Rangers maintained their positions, weapons ready but not raised. As they approached the tree line, Savannah called out softly, "We have your baby. He's okay. We've helped him." For a long moment, nothing happened. The forest remained still, with only the rustling of leaves in the light breeze breaking the silence. Then, a twig snapped, and the underbrush parted to reveal the massive form of the mother bear, her remaining cub close at her side. The bear's gaze fixed immediately on the carrier, her nostrils flaring as she caught the scent of her injured offspring. She made that same mournful sound Savannah had heard earlier, a rumble that seemed to convey both worry and hope. "That's right," Savannah said softly. "It's your baby. We've treated his leg. He's going to be okay." Behind her, she could hear the Rangers shifting into position, the soft clicks of weapons being readied. The moment was balanced on a knife's edge. Slowly, carefully, Savannah and Connor lowered the carrier to the ground. Dr. Hayes stepped forward to unlatch the door, then quickly retreated. The injured cub poked its head out cautiously, its bandaged leg held carefully off the ground. At the sight of its mother, the cub let out an excited whine and attempted to clamber out of the carrier. Its movements were clumsy, hampered by the fourth line still attached to its leg and the lingering effects of the medication. The mother bear took a step forward, then stopped, her eyes moving from her cub to the human standing nearby. The tension in the air was palpable, the outcome of this unprecedented encounter hanging in the balance. Savannah made a split-second decision. Ignoring Connor's warning hiss, she stepped forward, carefully detached the IV line from the cub's leg, and gently lifted the small animal from the carrier. "Savannah, don't," Dr. Hayes whispered urgently. "It's too dangerous." But Savannah's instincts told her this was the only way to complete the extraordinary trust that had begun that morning at her cabin. With the injured cub cradled in her arms, she took several slow steps toward the mother bear, then knelt and gently placed the cub on the ground. "Go to your mama," she whispered to the little bear. The cub wobbled uncertainly, taking a few tentative steps on its injured leg before gaining confidence. The mother bear watched intently, making soft, encouraging sounds as her baby made its way toward her. When the injured cub finally reached its mother, the reunion was breathtaking. The mother bear gently nuzzled her returning baby, carefully inspecting the bandaged leg, while the healthy sibling danced excitedly around them both. Savannah backed away slowly, giving the reunited family space. The mother bear looked up, her dark eyes meeting Savannah's in what seemed like a moment of profound connection. "She's going to retreat now," Savannah said quietly to the rangers. "Give her a clear path back to the forest." Ranger Lopez nodded, signaling her team to pull back and create an unobstructed route away from the school and back toward the reserve. The mother bear gathered both cubs close, then, with a final look at Savannah, turned and lumbered back into the forest, her babies safe at her side. As the bear family disappeared into the trees, the tension among the humans dissolved into a mixture of relief and amazement. Ranger Lopez approached Savannah, her expression a complex blend of emotions. "In 20 years of wildlife management, I've never seen anything like that," she admitted. "You took an incredible risk, but it paid off." "Not just a risk," Connor added, coming to stand beside Savannah. "What you did goes against every protocol and training manual. You could lose your position over this." Savannah nodded, acknowledging the truth of his words. Her actions, while successful, had broken numerous safety rules and professional guidelines. "I know, but there are some moments when protocol isn't enough." Dr. Hayes joined them, his expression thoughtful. "We witnessed something extraordinary today, something that challenges our understanding of animal cognition and behavior. This shouldn't be dismissed or covered up. It should be studied." Ranger Lopez sighed, running a hand through her short gray hair. "I'll need detailed reports from all of you. As unusual as this situation was, we need to document it properly." As the group dispersed to begin the cleanup and documentation process, Savannah found herself standing alone at the edge of the forest. The events of the day played through her mind, each moment more incredible than the last. A wild bear seeking human help, a mother's determination to find her lost child, and a connection formed across species barriers that had seemed insurmountable. Her phone chimed with a text from Jessica. "Saw the news alert. Bear situation resolved peacefully. You involved? Lily's fine, taking a nap." Savannah smiled, texting back a quick confirmation and thanks. As she slipped the phone back into her pocket, she noticed something on the ground where the mother bear had stood. 3 perfect blackberries, carefully placed in a small pile. She stared at the berries, a lump forming in her throat. bears ate blackberries regularly, but they didn't gather them and leave them behind. This wasn't random, it was a gift. Kneeling, Savannah gently touched one of the berries, her scientific mind struggling to accept what her heart already knew. The mother bear had left these deliberately, a gesture of thanks from one mother to another. "Savannah," Connor called from behind her. "We need you for the debriefing." "Coming," she replied, carefully collecting the berries and placing them in her pocket. As she turned to join the others, a soft rustling in the underbrush caught her attention. For just a moment, she glimpsed a dark eye watching her from between the leaves, intelligent and aware. Then it was gone, leaving Savannah with the unshakable feeling that this extraordinary encounter was not an ending, but a beginning. Section 5. Unexpected Consequences. 3 days after the remarkable events at Pinecrest Elementary School, Savannah sat at her cabin desk, staring at her computer screen with growing frustration. Her initial report about the bear encounter had been met with skepticism bordering on dismissal from the Regional Wildlife Authority. "Anthropomorphizing wildlife behavior undermines credible scientific observation," read the terse email from the regional director. "While we appreciate your efforts in resolving the situation without casualties, your interpretation of the bear's motivations lacks scientific basis and cannot be included in official records." Savannah pushed back from her desk with a sigh, glancing out the window at the forest beyond. The mother bear and her cubs hadn't returned to the cabin clearing, though Connor reported fresh tracks in the area during his patrols. The injured cub's bandage would need changing soon, but without another extraordinary display of trust from the mother, they had no safe way to provide follow-up care. Lily babbled happily from her playpen, unaware of her mother's professional dilemma. Savannah smiled at her daughter, grateful for the simple joy the baby brought to even the most frustrating days. A knock at the door interrupted her thoughts. She opened it to find Dr. Hayes standing on her porch, a thick folder tucked under his arm, and an unusually serious expression on his face. "Michael," she greeted him surprised, "I wasn't expecting you." "I know," he replied, glancing over his shoulder as if checking whether he'd been followed. "May I come in? There's something I need to show you." Puzzled by his furtive behavior, Savannah stepped aside to let him enter. Dr. Hayes nodded a greeting to Lily, then placed the folder on Savannah's desk, opening it to reveal a stack of photographs and handwritten notes. "What is this?" she asked, leaning closer to examine the top photograph. It showed a black bear standing upright beside a distinctive rock formation, placing what appeared to be a small pile of berries on a flat stone. "Evidence," Dr. Hayes replied quietly. "I've been keeping a private record of unusual bear behaviors in Pinecrest Reserve for nearly 5 years. After what happened with your bear, I thought you should see this." "My bear?" Savannah echoed with a small laugh. "She's hardly mine." Dr. Hayes's expression remained serious. "That may be more accurate than you realize." He spread the photographs across the desk, creating a visual timeline. 5 years ago, a young female black bear began exhibiting behaviors that didn't match standard wildlife patterns. She would leave small gifts, usually berries or occasionally small trinkets like feathers, at specific locations frequented by researchers. She showed no fear of observation, blinds, or trail cameras, and most notably, she appeared to recognize individual researchers, responding differently to different people. Savannah examined the photographs with growing amazement. "This is the same bear, our bear?" Dr. Hayes nodded. "Based on the distinctive white chest marking, yes. I believe so. I've been tracking her quietly for years, documenting her unusual behaviors without officially reporting them." "Why keep it secret?" Savannah asked, though she already knew the answer from her own recent experience. because suggesting that a wild bear possesses this level of cognitive function is career suicide in our field, Dr. Hayes replied bluntly. I've seen too many promising researchers dismissed for anthropomorphizing their subjects. So, I kept my observations private, building evidence slowly and carefully. He pulled out a particular photograph, dated just over 6 months ago. It showed the same bear with 3 small cubs, standing at the edge of a clearing where a research station had been established. This was taken 1 week before she was found at the elementary school and subsequently relocated, Dr. Hayes explained. Notice anything unusual? Savannah studied the image carefully. The bear was standing upright, her posture almost human-like as she seemed to observe the research station. But what caught Savannah's attention was the object clutched in her paw, a small red object that looked distinctly artificial. What is she holding? Savannah asked, reaching for a magnifying glass on her desk. A child's toy, Dr. Hayes confirmed. A small plastic apple from a playset. She carried it for weeks before the relocation incident, and after she was relocated without one of her cubs, trail cameras caught her returning to the research station multiple times, seemingly searching for something or someone. The implication sent a chill down Savannah's spine. You think she was trying to communicate, that she deliberately sought human help when her cub was injured because she had previous experience with humans taking and then returning one of her cubs? Dr. Hayes nodded slowly. I believe we're witnessing the emergence of a new level of cognition in at least this individual bear, possibly influenced by generations of contact with humans in and around the reserve. She's learned to recognize us as potential allies rather than just threats. He pulled out more photographs, these taken from trail cameras over the past several months. Each showed the mother bear engaged in behaviors that defied conventional understanding of bear cognition, arranging stones in patterns, caching food in locations frequented by researchers, even appearing to use a stick to retrieve something from a hollow log. This is... Savannah struggled to find words adequate to the discovery. Revolutionary, Dr. Hayes finished for her, and potentially dangerous for her and for anyone whose career becomes associated with these claims. Savannah understood his caution. Wildlife biology was a field built on careful, empirical observation, not sensational claims about animal intelligence that could be dismissed as anthropomorphization. Yet the evidence before her was compelling, especially combined with her own extraordinary experience. Why show me this now? She asked. Dr. Hayes gathered the photographs back into their folder. Because 3 days ago, this bear sought you out specifically, trusted you with her injured cub, and then followed a complex plan to reunite with both her babies. That goes beyond interesting behavior into something we barely have language to describe. And because I think she's coming back. Coming back? Savannah repeated. Here? Why? The rangers found fresh tracks this morning, heading in this direction, and there was this. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small plastic bag containing a familiar sight, 3 perfectly ripe blackberries. They were left on your cabin steps sometime last night, Dr. Hayes explained. The security camera caught a large shadow, but nothing clear. Savannah felt a strange mixture of excitement and trepidation. What does she want? Why would she come back? I have a theory, Dr. Hayes said, his voice dropping lower as if the trees themselves might be listening. But it's going to sound even more far-fetched than what we've discussed so far. Savannah gestured for him to continue, her scientific curiosity overtaking her skepticism. I believe she's trying to establish a relationship, a mutually beneficial arrangement with specific humans she's identified as non-threatening. This behavior has been documented in other species, corvids bringing gifts to humans who feed them, dolphins guiding fishermen to schools of fish in exchange for a share of the catch, but never in bears.